"Run, Tala! The fire's got no mercy, and it's coming for us all!" The shout echoes across a dusty Colorado valley, 1884, as flames lick the horizon. A lone rider, Tala of the Ute tribe, charges toward the blaze, his horse kicking up dirt, his eyes locked on the smoke. Sweat drips down his face, but he doesn't slow down. The wind howls, carrying the smell of burning sage. That day, Tala wasn't just racing against fire. He was racing toward a choice that could change everything. Why would a man ride straight into danger when everyone else turns back? Stick with me, and you'll see what he found on the other side of the flames. Imagine a wild land, rough and untamed. It's 1884, and the Colorado Territory sprawls out under a big, open sky. Mountains tower high, their edges sharp against the clouds. Sagebrush scatters across the ground, and cattle trails twist through the dirt. This is the home of the Ute people, a tribe who've known these peaks forever. They're masters of this place, but now white settlers are moving in, taking chunks of land bit by bit. The Ute are losing ground, and the air feels tense, like a storm waiting to break. In a small village tucked among the hills, there's Tala, a young Ute warrior. He's quick on a horse and sharp with his eyes, always torn between what he's supposed to do and what he dreams of. His father, Chief Hakan, leads their band, a man with a voice like stone, holding tight to the old ways over anything soft like feelings. Not far off, in a quiet valley, lives Kiona, a Cheyenne woman with a steady heart. She's clinging to the last scraps of her family's land, a fading piece of what once was. These three souls are tied to this earth, each in their own way. This isn't a tale of war or fighting. No, it's something deeper. It's about fire that burns more than wood, choices that weigh heavy, and the search for where you truly fit. Out here, the land shapes you, but it's the people who decide what that shape becomes. Stick around, because Tala, Hakan, and Kiona are about to show us something real. Step inside a lodge made of wood and earth, the heart of the Ute village. The air smells of smoke and leather, warm from a fire, flickering in the corner. Tala stands there, tall and still, his dark hair falling just past his shoulders. Across from him sits Chief Hakan, his father, wrapped in a blanket stitched with patterns older than the mountains. Hakan's eyes are hard, like they've seen too many winters, and his voice cuts through the quiet. The Cheyenne girl, Kiona, has no one left. Her land touches ours. You'll take her as your wife, Tala. It's time we unite what's left of our strength. The words land heavy, like a rock dropped in still water. Tala feels his jaw tighten, his teeth pressing together. He barely knows Kiona. She's just a shadow in his memory, a girl he saw years ago during hunts when the Ute and Cheyenne crossed paths. Back then she was quiet, slipping through the trees with a bough in her hand, her braids swinging as she moved. Now his father wants her to be his wife. Tala's chest tightens, not with fear, but with something else, something restless. Hakan leans forward, his hands resting on his knees. Her family's gone. Her land's all she's got. We bring her in. We grow stronger. 2 tribes, 1 people. To Hakan, it's a plan, a way to survive as the settlers close in. But to Tala, it feels like chains. He can almost hear them clinking, wrapping around his wrists, pulling him into a life he didn't choose. He pictures himself riding free across the plains, the wind in his face, not tied to a lodge, with someone he doesn't even understand. Could a marriage built on duty, on cold words from his father, ever mean anything real? Could it ever feel like more than a trade, like horses swapped at a camp? Tala shifts his weight, his boots scuffing the dirt floor. He wants to speak, to push back, but the weight of his father's stare keeps him quiet for a moment longer. Then it spills out. "I'm not a tool, Father." His voice is low but firm, like a river cutting through stone. "I ride for our people, not to bind them. I fight for them, not to be traded off like some gift to fix things." The lodge goes silent, the fire popping softly in the background. Hakan's face doesn't change, but his eyes narrow, sharp as a hawk's. He leans back, crossing his arms. "You ride because I say so. That's the Ute way. We don't bend for feelings. We stand for what keeps us alive." His words are ice, freezing Tala where he stands. Tala feels the pull deep in his bones. The Ute way. It's been drilled into him since he could walk, since he first held a bow, since he learned to listen to the elders. Duty over heart, strength over questions. But now, that way feels like a wall, not a path. He looks at Hakan, the man who raised him, the man who led their people through hunger and loss. Part of him wants to nod, to step back, to say yes and keep the peace. But another part, wild and loud, screams to break free. Outside, the wind howls through the village, rattling the lodge walls, like it's calling him to decide. This moment right here is where everything starts to shift. A spark's been lit, and it's about to catch fire. The sun hangs low in the sky, painting the Colorado plains with a soft golden glow. Tala rides out from the village, his horse's hooves kicking up dust as he moves. He's heading to Kiona's camp, a small patch of Cheyenne land just beyond the ridge. His father's words still echo in his ears, heavy and sharp, but out here, with the wind in his face, he feels a flicker of something else. Curiosity, maybe, or doubt. The land opens up before him, dry and cracked, dotted with clumps of grass and a few stubborn bushes. In the distance he spots it, a crumbling tipi, its hides weathered and patched, standing alone like a memory refusing to fade. A single horse grazes nearby, thin but steady, tied to a stake in the ground. Tala slows his horse, his eyes scanning the camp. It's quiet, too quiet, like the air's holding its breath. Then she steps out. Kiona. She moves from the teepee's shadow, her figure small but solid, like a tree rooted against a storm, her hairs pulled back in a tight braid, dark and shining, and her hands grip a bow, the string taut, an arrow notched and ready. Her eyes lock on him, sharp and bright, cutting through the space between them. "If you're here to claim me, Ute, you'll need more than words," she says, her voice steady, not loud, but carrying a weight that stops him cold. Tala swings off his horse, boots hitting the dirt, and raises his hand slow and easy. "I'm not here to claim anything," he says. "I just want to talk." He takes a step closer, watching her. She doesn't lower the bow, not yet, but her head tilts just a little, sizing him up. Up close, she's not what he thought. Hakan called her the last of her line, a girl with nothing left, but there's no defeat in her stance. Her dress is simple, faded from sun and time, but she wears it like armor. Her face isn't soft or pleading, it's carved with lines of grit and knowing, like she's seen more than she'll ever say. Tala expected someone broken, someone weak, a shadow clinging to scraps. Instead, he's facing a storm waiting to strike, calm on the surface, but alive with power underneath. For the first time, a crack splits through his father's certainty. Maybe Hakan's wrong. Maybe there's more here than a deal to be made. Kiona lowers the bow, just a touch, but keeps the arrow ready. "Talk then," she says, stepping out into the open, "but don't waste my time." Tala nods, lowering his hands, feeling the weight of her gaze. "My father, Chief Hakan, says we should join our people, your land, and ours. He says I'm to marry you." Her lips press tight, and for a moment he thinks she might laugh or shoot. Instead, she steps closer, her boots crunching the dry earth. "And you? What do you say, Tala of the Ute?" Her question hangs there, simple but piercing, like she's peeling back his skin to see what's underneath. He hesitates, caught off guard. "I say I don't know you," he admits, "and I don't like being told who to be." She studies him, her eyes narrowing, but not with anger. Something else flickers there, a spark of recognition, like she's heard that fight in her own heart. Then she speaks, her voice low and clear. My father taught me something before he was gone. A tree doesn't grow tall by leaning on another. It stands because its roots run deep. She lets the words settle, watching him. Tala feels them sink in, heavy and true. He pictures a lone pine on a cliff, bending with the wind, but never breaking. It's not just a saying, it's her. She's not here to be saved or taken. She's standing because she's dug in, fierce and quiet all at once. He nods, slow and thoughtful, the words stirring something in him. I've seen trees like that, he says, out on the high trails. They don't fall. Kiona's mouth quirks, not quite a smile, but close. She sets the bow down, leaning it against the teepee, and turns to face him fully. So why are you here, then, if not to drag me back? Tala takes a breath, the dust dry in his throat. To see who you are, before I decide anything. She looks at him a long moment, then gestures to the ground. Sit then, see for yourself. And right there, in that small, crumbling camp, something starts. Not a promise, not yet, but a thread, thin and real, tying them together under that wide, watching sky. A few days pass, quiet but heavy, like the air before a storm. The sun beats down on the Colorado plains, turning the grass brittle and the earth hard. Then it happens. A thin wisp of smoke curls up from the valley, faint at first, but growing fast. Tala's out checking traps near the ridge when he sees it, a dark cloud spreading across the sky. His stomach drops. Fire. Wild and hungry, it's sparking near the edge of Ute land, close to where Kiona's camp sits. He swings onto his horse, the reins tight in his hands, and rides hard toward the village. Dust flies behind him, his heart pounding as the smoke thickens, turning the air sharp and bitter. This isn't just a threat to the trees, it's a threat to everything, Ute and Cheyenne alike. He bursts into the village, his horse rearing as he pulls to a stop outside Hakan's lodge. People turn, watching, their faces tight with worry. Tala leaps off, pushing through the flap. Father, there's fire in the valley. It's coming fast. We need to move now. Hakan sits by the fire pit, his pipe in hand, his expression calm, almost carved from stone. He doesn't even look up. The spirits will decide, he says, slow and sure. We stay. Tala stares, his breath catching. The spirits? This isn't rain or wind. It's fire. It'll burn us all if we wait. Hakan's eyes lift, cold and steady. We trust the old ways. You should too. Fury rises in Tala's chest, hot and sharp, like a blade twisting. He clenches his fists, wanting to shout, but he knows it's useless. Hakan's made up his mind. Without another word, Tala spins around and storms out. His horse is still panting, but he mounts up again, kicking its sides hard. If his father won't act, he will. He rides straight for Kiona's camp, the smoke growing thicker, stinging his eyes. The sky's turning gray, the sun a blurry smear behind the haze. He can hear it now, the crackle of flames, distant but closing in, like a beast roaring awake. When he reaches her land, he sees her. Kiona's already moving, her arms full of blankets and a small bag, her horse tied tight with a rope. She's not running, she's fighting. She spots him and doesn't pause, just calls out over the wind. Fire doesn't care about spirits or borders, help me or get out of my way. Her voice cuts through the chaos, firm and alive, and Tala doesn't hesitate. He jumps down, tying his horse beside hers. Where's the water? He yells. She points to a creek just past the camp. There, move fast. They run together, grabbing buckets from her tippy, their boots pounding the dirt. The creek's shallow, but cold, rushing over smooth stones. Tala dips his bucket, water splashing his arms, while Kiona fills hers, her movements quick and sure. The flames are louder now, a deep growl rolling through the valley, orange tongues licking up the dry grass. They haul the buckets back, shouting to each other over the noise. "Over there, by the ridge." "What?" Kiona calls, pointing to a line of brush catching fast. Tala nods, splashing water where she directs, steam hissing as it hits the heat. She's right beside him, throwing her own bucket, her braid swinging with every move. The fire fights back, spitting sparks. But they don't stop. Sweat drips down Tala's face, mixing with soot, and Kiona's hands tremble from the weight, but her eyes stay fierce. In that chaos, something shifts. Tala looks at her, really sees her, not as a shadow or a duty, but as a force. She's not just saving her land, she's saving life itself, every blade of grass, every breath of air. And Kiona glances at him, catching his gaze for a split second. She sees it too, the way he's here, not because Hakan told him, but because he chose to be. The fire doesn't care who they are, Ute or Cheyenne, warrior or lone woman. It's blind, ruthless, eating everything in its path. But they care. They're here, side by side, water sloshing, voices hoarse, fighting together. The flames roar closer, the heat pressing against their skin, but they keep going, bucket after bucket, a rhythm building between them, raw and real. By the time the sun dips lower, the fire's still alive, but they've carved a break, a thin line of wet earth holding it back from her camp. Tala's chest heaves, his hands raw from the buckets, and Kiona leans against a rock, wiping ash from her face. The air's thick with smoke, but they've bought time. She looks at him, breathing hard. "You didn't have to come." He shakes his head, wiping sweat from his brow. "Yeah, I did." And right there, with the crackle of dying embers around them, they stand together, not as strangers anymore, but as something stronger, forged in the heat of that wild, reckless blaze. The fire's gone quiet now, its roar faded to a soft crackle in the distance. The valley lies still, cloaked in a haze of smoke that clings to the earth like a heavy sigh. By the creek, Tala and Kiona sit on the damp ground, their buckets tossed aside, empty and dented. Ash streaks their faces, mixing with sweat, and their clothes are soaked, clinging to their skin. Tala's hands ache, raw from hauling water, and Kiona's breath comes in short, tired gasps. They don't speak, not yet. The silence between them isn't empty. It's full, alive with the weight of what they've just done. They fought together, held back the flames, saved her camp. The air smells of burnt grass and wet dirt, and for a moment it feels like they've won something bigger than land. Then hooves thunder in the distance, breaking the quiet. Tala looks up, his heart sinking as he recognizes the rider. It's Hakan, his father, riding hard toward them. His face is a storm, eyes blazing with a fury Tala knows too well. He pulls his horse to a stop, the animal snorting, and swings down, his boots hitting the ground like a judge's hammer. "You defied me," Hakan says, his voice low and sharp, cutting through the smoky air. "I told you to stay, to trust the spirits. And you ran here? For her?" He jabs a finger toward Kiona, who's still sitting by the creek, her back straight despite the exhaustion. "She's not, Ute. She's nothing." The words sting, harsh and cold, meant to wound them both. Tala stands slowly, his legs shaky, but his resolve firm. He steps forward, putting himself between Kiona and his father. "She's more than you see, father," he says, his voice steady, though his heart races. "And so am I." The words spill out, raw and true, like they've been waiting inside him all along. He thinks of the fire, the way Kiona didn't flinch, the way she moved with him, bucket by bucket, fighting for something she refused to lose. He thinks of himself, choosing to ride here, not because Hakan ordered it, but because it felt right. Hakan's eyes narrow, his jaw tight. "You're my son. You carry our name, our way. You don't throw that away for some Cheyenne girl with a patch of dirt." Kiona rises now, slow and deliberate, brushing ash from her hands. She doesn't look at Hakan, only at Tala, her eyes calm but piercing. She steps closer, her voice soft, barely a whisper, meant for him alone. "My father taught me something before he left this world," she says. "A man's worth isn't in his name, but in his choices." "What's yours, Tala?" Her words hit him like a spark, bright and burning. They hang there, simple but heavy, pulling at something deep inside. He sees it now, clear as the creek running beside them. This is the knot, the moment everything twists tight. He could go back with Hakan, marry Kiona, under his father's rules, keep the peace and stay the son he's always been. Or he could walk away, risk his place, his family, everything he's known, for a path he's only starting to understand. Hakan steps closer, his shadow falling over Tala. "Choose, boy," he says, his voice like iron. "Come home, do your duty, or turn your back on us." Tala's hands clench, his breath shallow. He looks at Kiona, her face smudged with soot, but strong, like a tree that's weathered 100 storms. He thinks of her words, about roots and choices, about standing tall. Then he looks at his father, the man who shaped him, whose voice has been his guide since he was small. The past pulls one way, hard and familiar, promising safety, honor, the Ute way. But his heart pulls another, towards something new, something he can't yet name. The creek murmurs softly, the wind stirs the ashes, and Tala stands there, caught between two worlds, knowing whatever he says next will change it all. What would you do, standing in that smoke, with one path leading back and another stretching forward? Hold on, because Tala's choice is coming, and it's going to shake everything he thought he knew. The smoke has cleared now, leaving the valley quiet under a pale morning sky. Tala rides back to the Ute village, his horse moving steady over the familiar trails. His chest feels tight, not with fear, but with something solid, something he's decided. The fight with the fire, the words by the creek, Kiona's quiet strength, it all sits with him, heavy but clear. He knows what he has to do. The village comes into view, teepees scattered like stones against the hills, smoke curling up from cooking fires. People glance his way as he passes, their eyes curious, but he keeps his focus ahead. He's going to face Hakan one last time. He steps into the lodge, the air warm and thick with the smell of sage. Hakan sits there, his back straight, his hands resting on a carved staff. He looks up, his face hard, expecting Tala to bow or beg. But Tala stands tall, his voice steady as he speaks. "I'll marry Kiona," he says, pausing just long enough to let it sink in. "But not for you, for me, for us." Hakan's eyes narrow, a flicker of surprise breaking his mask. Tala steps closer, his words growing stronger. "The Ute way isn't just holding on to what was, it's growing, making something new. That's what I'm doing." Hakan scoffs, a rough sound from deep in his throat. "You think you know better than me, than our ancestors?" But there's no fire in his voice, just a tired edge. He doesn't stop Tala, just watches as his son turns and walks out, the lodge flap falling shut behind him. Tala mounts his horse again, the weight lifting from his shoulders with every step away from the village. He rides back to Kiona's camp, the sun climbing higher, warming the earth. When he arrives, she's there, kneeling by the teepee, patching a tear in the hide with steady hands. She looks up, her sharp eyes meeting his, and he dismounts, walking to her. "I told him," he says simply. "I'm here because I want to be, not because he said so." Kiona stands, brushing dirt from her palms, studying him like she's searching for truth in his face. Then she nods, slow and sure. "Good," she says. "I'll stay too, not for land, not for deals, for something real. There's no grand promise, no loud vow, just a quiet agreement, raw and honest, like the earth beneath their feet." Together they set to work. The camp's a mess from the fire, charred grass, and scattered ash, But they don't let it sit. Tala drags logs from the creek, his arms straining as he builds a frame for a new shelter. Kiona weaves branches tight, her fingers quick and skilled, blending Cheyenne patterns with Ute knots. They don't talk much, but they move together, a rhythm growing between them. He fetches water while she tends the horse, her hands gentle on its flank. She shows him how to stack stones for a fire pit, a Cheyenne trick to keep the heat strong, and he teaches her to carve stakes the Ute way, sharp and deep to hold against the wind. Day by day the camp rises again, not just hers or his, but theirs, a mix of two worlds stitched into something whole. One evening, as the sun dips low, painting the sky with streaks of orange and pink, they sit by the new fire pit. The flames dance, small but steady, casting light on their faces. Kiona reaches into a pouch at her side and pulls out a single bead, smooth and red, a Cheyenne mark from her father's time. She holds it out to Tala, her voice soft but firm. "We're not one tribe now," she says. "We're something stronger." He takes it, his fingers brushing hers, feeling the weight of her words. Then he pulls a feather from his belt, a Ute eagle feather, light and dark, and tucks it into her braid. He smiles, a real smile, warm and quiet. "Yeah," he says, "stronger." She looks at him, her eyes catching the firelight, and for the first time she smiles back, small but true. This isn't about breaking what came before. Tala didn't turn his back on the Ute way, he bent it, stretched it to fit who he's becoming. Kiona didn't cling to her past alone, she opened it, let it grow with him. Together they're building something, not just a camp, but a life, rooted in resilience, in choosing each other. The stars blink above them, the night settling soft over the valley. And you can feel it, the strength of two people who found a way forward, not by force, but by blending what they know into something new, something lasting. Months have slipped by, quiet and steady, like water smoothing a stone. The Colorado Valley has changed, softened by time and hands that refuse to give up. Tala and Kiona stand together on a ridge, the wind tugging at their clothes, their eyes fixed on the land below. It's not just a camp anymore. It's a settlement, small but alive, breathing with new life. Teepees dot the ground, some patched with Ute hides, others woven with Cheyenne patterns. Smoke rises from fire pits, curling up to meet the wide blue sky. Horses graze near a creek that glints in the sunlight, their coats sleek from good care. And down there, in the heart of it all, children run and laugh, their voices carrying on the breeze. Ute kids with dark braids chase Cheyenne kids with bright beads, tumbling together in the grass, no lines between them. Tala's hand rests on the ridge, his fingers brushing the rough stone. He's taller now, not just in height, but in the way he stands, sure and grounded. His hair's tied back, a feather tucked in, and his eyes shine with something deep, something earned. Kiona's beside him, her braid loose from the wind, a red bead glinting at her side. Her face is calm, but her lips curve just a little, a quiet pride in the way she watches. The settlement isn't big, not like the villages of old, but it's theirs. They built it, log by log, stitch by stitch, through days of sweat and nights of talk. Tala turns to her, his voice low but clear. "I thought fire took everything," he says, glancing down at the kids, the homes, the life they've made. "Turns out, it gave us this." Kiona nods, her gaze steady. "Sometimes you have to burn to grow," she says, simple and true, like a truth carved into the earth itself. Step back and see it. Months ago, this valley was ash and smoke, a place where flames ate everything they touched. Tala rode into that chaos, defying his father, choosing a path he couldn't see. Kiona stood her ground, fighting for a home she wouldn't let die. They didn't just survive that fire, they turned it into something more. They hauled water together, rebuilt together, learned each other's ways. Ute songs mix with Cheyenne stories around the fires now. Kids trade beads and feathers, giggling as they learn words from both tongues. The elders come too, Hakan among them, his face still stern but his step slower, watching from a distance. He doesn't speak much, but he doesn't fight it either. This isn't about power or old rules, it's about trust, about two people who took what was broken and made it whole. The sun dips lower, painting the ridge with gold, and Tala reaches for Kiona's hand. She lets him take it, her fingers warm against his, calloused from work but soft in their grip. They don't say much. They don't need to. The settlement hums below, alive with voices and footsteps, a heartbeat born from their choices. They didn't build walls to keep others out. They built a home to hold others in. Ute and Cheyenne, once pulled apart by land and time, now share this patch of earth, not as one tribe, but as neighbors, as family. The kids chase each other into the dusk, their laughter rising like smoke, and Tala squeezes Kiona's hand just a little tighter. She looks at him, her eyes catching the last light, and smiles, full and real. This is the real wisdom of the people who've walked this land forever. It's not in fighting to hold what's yours or in claiming what's not. It's in seeing the fire, facing it, and finding a way to grow through it. Tala and Kiona didn't just save a valley. They saved each other. And in doing that, they gave their people something new. A peace not carved in stone or won with blood, but built with hands and hearts, side by side. The stars start to peek out one by one, lighting the sky above the ridge. And down below, the settlement glows, small but strong, a promise that hope can rise from ashes, that humanity can bloom where it's planted. The camera fades from the ridge, lifting up to a wide, starry sky stretching over the Colorado Valley. Tiny lights wink in the dark, bright and endless, like a blanket of quiet promises. Soft native flute music drifts in, gentle and low, wrapping around the silence like a warm wind. Down below, the settlement sleeps, its fires dim but steady, a small glow against the night. Tala and Kiona showed us something simple, yet deep. Life isn't about what you're given, the land, the name, the rules handed down. It's about what you make with it, the choices you carve out, the hands you reach for. They faced fire, not just the kind that burns grass, but the kind that tests your soul. And they built something from it, not alone, but together. So what fire are you facing right now? What's burning in your world? And who's standing with you when the smoke clears? Think about that for a moment. Let it sit with you. If this story stirred something in you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who could use a spark of hope. We'll see you in the next tale, under these same stars, with another story to tell.